Hey everyone, in this video today, as you can see right here, I'm going to show you guys how to make the inverse chevron friendship bracelet. Yes, I am finally going to update my very old, very awful original inverse chevron friendship bracelet tutorial. And I really wanted to remake it because one, it's like 7 years old now, and I looked back on it actually recently, and the camera angle was awful. It was extremely blurry. It was a very old camera, so it wouldn't focus on anything, and it was just awful. I've been wanting to remake this video for quite a while now, and I'm so glad that I finally am able to do it today. So go ahead, check out that old video if you want to, and laugh at how embarrassing it is, because at the time I'm uploading this, I'm very soon after going to take that video down, finally. I think it deserved an update with much clearer instructions and much clearer video. So as far as amount of strings go, I did a little experimenting, as you can see here, to see how thick I wanted the bracelet to be. So as you can see here, this is only 8 strings, and it's surprisingly really thin. And because it's a mirrored pattern, you want to think about how many colors you want to use. So for this one, I only used 6 strings, and as you can see, it's pretty thin. If you like that look, then you can use 6 strings. But I wanted to do a little bit more experimenting, so with this one I did 8 strings, and I've noticed that with most friendship bracelets, I think 8 strings is a good amount of strings to have, especially on pretty simple patterns like this one. And then for this one, I decided to be a little crazy, and I did 10 strings. And as you can see right here, the top bubbled up extremely bad, and there could have been a couple reasons for that, but when we get into the tutorial, I'll explain to you guys how I think this can be fixed. These ones didn't bubble up at all at the top. This one might have barely, but it got fixed right away. So this is either like too many strings or it was something that I did wrong, but we'll talk about it. So for this bracelet, you want to think about pretty much how many colors you want to have. Because as you can see, this is kind of a mirrored pattern when you really think about it. Because what you're doing on one side, you're doing the exact same thing on the other. Because the easiest way to do mirrored patterns like this, where you need an even amount of strings, is taking a really long piece of string, folding it in half, and tying it in a knot, just right here, like I did on all of these ones. And for this one, I did the same thing, but if you don't like the loop on the end, what I did here is I measured out my string really long, then I folded it in half, and before I knotted it, I just cut it right down the middle and then left a few inches off so that way I had room to braid it down. And of course this won't be enough for a braided end, I just did this for tutorial purposes. And then that you have that, you're ready to start, and you want to figure out what order you want your colors to be in. And I'm just kind of gonna do this randomly. But the thing about your order is you want them to mirror each other. So if I want to put my purple on the very outside of this side, I have to do it on the other side as well. It's kind of a mess at the top because of the way it's knotted, but once we do our first few rows, that'll all get situated. So the inverse chevron is pretty easy. It's just like the regular chevron, except you're working backwards. So instead of starting on the outside and going in, we're gonna start in the middle and work our way out. So first what you want to do is take your centermost strands, whatever color that is, and you want to go ahead and do a forward knot. And then pretty much what we're going to do is we're going to start on the right side and do forward knots on all of our strands until we get our working strand to the other side. So we just did our forward knot here. Doesn't matter which side you start on, I'm going to go ahead and do the right. And here is how I think we can stop this bubble. So as you probably noticed, it's an upside down V shape. So instead of the strings all coming to a point in the center, they're going outwards. And I think what we should try to do is, as we're knotting our strands, try to make that upside down V shape. So starting on my right side, I'm going to take my first strand and do a forward knot. And we're not going to try and pull it all the way up to the knot. We're kind of just going to go level with what we did here, but kind of down a little bit, if that makes any sense. But now that we have that, we're going to take our next strand, do a forward knot, and don't pull all the way up. Just knot it and kind of let it make that natural shape. And then we'll do it again. And depending on how many strings you have, you can keep going, or you might already be finished by now. But as you can see, I got this string over to the right side, and then now we're going to pay attention to the left side and take our strand and do backward knots all the way to the outside. And that's really all we're doing. And you can probably tell right here that it's not really making an upside down V shape, but more like a line. Don't worry about that, because once you start doing more rows, it'll get that natural shape. So we're going to repeat what we just did. We're going to take our two new colors now in the center, do a forward knot. And you see, once I knot this strand, it kind of pushes up the middle. So starting on my right side, I'm going to take my strand again, do forward knots all the way until I get it to the outside. And then now that we have that, we're going to go to the left side, take our working strand, do backward knots all the way until we get to the outside. And now that we have that, that's pretty much all you do for the rest of the way down. The inverse chevron really is only tricky because of the fact that it doesn't come to a point. Like, the strings don't meet in the middle, and instead they're going from the middle out. So, like right here, in the middle, you're gonna get this kind of really awkward gap. And when you start to tie those strings, it wants to go to one side more than the other, if you can tell. And really all it takes is just kind of moving the knot around until you can tighten it to where you want it. And definitely don't get frustrated. Just be extremely patient and kind of just wiggle the strings in the way that you want them to be. And the one thing that will also really help prevent that bubbling up at the center is to just kind of push on your bracelet a little bit and just flatten it out. As you can see right there, it looks a lot better. And I think that's what I forgot to do when I was working on this one. I didn't press it down at all, so it just kind of all bunched up until it finally got neat. And you won't really see this anyway if you're wearing it. Really, it just depends on how picky you are. So I think that's it for the video today. Definitely so much better than my old one, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this video as well and were able to follow along pretty well. So thanks again so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.